hear you.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thank you for joining me on this Saturday evening. Saturday Night Club, we're doing live readings, and today is February 26th. How's everybody doing? I will let the stream kind of go for a couple minutes to let people kind of get the alert and come in. Thank you, Nancy. I am happy to do a reading for you. However, I have you on my list already. So let me know, but I'm trying to keep better track. Looks like we did a reading on February 12th. So just let me know. Hi, Deanna. I'm happy to do your reading for sure. I keep track of when I do readings for the level 3 people. So... Nancy, I'm happy to read for you if you want to buy a reading, or you can catch me next week. Next week's tarot, that's when the month is going to reset up. Hey, Paula, it's nice to see you. Everybody's waiting, huh? The astrology is like super fucking intense today. So those of you guys who held out and you waited for your readings, probably it's a good thing that you did, because, oh my goodness, this... Mars-Pluto conjunction is not screwing around. Moon's in Capricorn, and it's like off to the races for the next week, guys. The energy is rather intense. Those of you guys who are new to my channel, thank you for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing. There's a QR code over here. You can scan that on a phone if you want to get in the queue for readings. We are doing live astrology readings. I am a Western evolutionary astrologer, so... if you would like to get a reading, you can scan that. It's donation, so $40 for a question in regards to your transit or chart. $65 if you have questions about relationships, synastry. For me to look at your chart, I need to know your exact time, date, location, and city of birth. So for you to get a reading, you can check the link that's been pinned at the top of the chat, or you can scan the QR code here. Also, if you see that little bar that's moving, the banner, it's going to give you information about my PayPal, my memberships, and all of that stuff. So those of you guys who are new, check that out. Readings are going to be live on the channel. So we will pull up your chart live and take a look at your astrology. Let me get some stuff out of the way first before we get started. Hey, Patrick, it's nice to see you. I think you sent me a question for the podcast for the live the other day. I saw it in my PayPal. And I feel bad that we missed it, but we were using the Midheaven PayPal. So you actually PayPal'd me for a question. I refunded it back to you. So I just want to let you know that it was sent back to you. I didn't overlook it. It just went to a different PayPal. But if you want to get a question, let me know. Otherwise, you can catch us in about 2 weeks. There will be another live Midheaven show if you want us to pull tarot cards for you. I guess that's a good time to plug my podcast. My head is like spinning from all the content. So I'm putting out a lot of content on my channel now. I also have a podcast that comes out every Monday with Mike, the Peace Stealer. If you guys haven't checked it out, check that out. It's been going a year strong. It's fun. It's very different than my channel. It's kind of like loose and comedic, and we drink on the internet and talk about astrology. So let me go ahead and say thank you to all of my members. If you guys aren't aware, I have memberships now. There's 3 levels. You can get in on level 1 and just support if you support the channel and you like my content. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm putting out content even more often. So now we've got horoscopes that are on the channel because I have subscribers. So now I have the resources and the time to be able to do that. And I'm also creating weekly videos. I'm doing these live videos on Saturday, educational videos. I have so much stuff coming out for you. I've been working on horoscopes all day. It took me 3 hours, but they're going to be out soon. And I feel like they're extra good, so I'm excited that I'm committed to doing that. Special thank you to my level 2 and 3 subscribers: Catherine Murray, Angeli, Deanna, Paula, Harazed, Nancy Celerito, Phoenix, Jessica Martinez, Emma, and Susan Wexler. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. That is the benefit of being a level 3 subscriber, or I guess I should say member. When you're a level 3 member, you're going to get 1 reading from me once a month. So I'm here every Saturday, 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Check your time zones. You can alternate. So if you are a monthly subscriber and a member, you are going to get 1 tarot card reading, which is 3 cards, or 1 question about astrology once a month. Pretty good deal. I charge more for that on my website, I'm realizing. And also I'm super booked and I'm very busy. So it's a great way to jump in and be like, hey, I have a question, and check in with me once a month. So those of you guys who are level 3, who I have not already spoke to, pretty much it looks like the only 2 people who I've spoken to is Angeli and Nancy. I will go ahead and get to the level 3 people. So Deanna, looks like I'm happy to read for you. And if you guys make a purchase on PayPal, please let me know if your name is different on PayPal versus on YouTube. Sometimes you guys have a different name. To prevent me from having to scroll through all of the chat, please, 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 please put your information, your birth information, your question in the memo for PayPal. It's going to make it a lot faster. We'll be able to get through the questions much more quickly. And you guys won't have to watch me kind of be an old lady and pick through the chat. I appreciate it so much. Also, when I go live, liking, commenting, sharing this in groups, sharing this in astrology groups, or sharing this with friends, especially because it can be an awesome way for people who want to learn more about astrology, who just want to watch and participate and join our community, can join in. Okay, thank you for allowing me to get all of that out of the way. One last thing. I now have a newsletter. If you guys check the links below, if you click show more on the bottom of this video, you're going to see a link that says book a reading. It looks like we actually have not put the newsletter in there, so I apologize. We'll get the newsletter pinned, don't worry. But if you check my channel, or if you check my website, go to my website, beyondtheveiltarot.com, and sign up for my newsletter. I'm going to be teaching astrology club courses. It's going to be like live astrology club with people. So I'm going to start teaching beginners astrology soon. If you want to be on the list for that and get insight, it's coming soon. I want to drop it after the new moon. That's why I've been waiting. So I know that the energy is a little static until then. If you want to sign up, please do sign up. They are going to be limited spaces. So I'm only going to take so many students. I am a little, I should say humbled and very surprised, good, happy surprises that there was about 4 times as many people as I anticipated that were going to sign up. So I am currently restructuring things to make it possible for me to feel like I can have much more of like an intimate group of people that I can study with. So looks like we're going to either try to pin that or check out my website below. Okay, thank you for letting me get that out. Hey, Catherine, nice to see you. No worries, Patrick. We'll talk soon. You're very welcome. Thank you, Leslie. I will be with you shortly. We got a couple people. So I also see we have Susan and Stephanie in the queue, guys. I will get to you shortly. We're just going to check in here very quickly with Deanna and Catherine Murray. Catherine, please, can you send me your info again? I'd appreciate it. And I'm going to go ahead and start with Deanna. All right. So let's get her information plugged in. January 2nd, 1978. And that was in Inglewood at 7:55. Come on, computer. There we go. I was trying to pick up somewhere in Canada. I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure she's not from there. All right. Let's go ahead and get into this. So the transits are the wheel on the outside. She's a Leo rising, sun in Capricorn, moon in Libra. Deanna says, my intent not to return to the same teaching job next year. In my intent not to return to the same teaching job next year. Have an interview Monday for a more flexible job in education while I start the online business. Trying to launch the site sometime between the 2nd and the 8th. Any advice moving forward? Also thinking about spending a month in Ireland during the summer. P.S. Revamped journals and started making jewelry. I saw your post. I love it. A couple things. Okay, so here's the deal. revamping job interviews, stuff in relation to making job changes. I'm liking that right now because you do have the Sun and Jupiter and Pisces in a sextile to the North Node and Taurus in your 10th. So you're like, okay, feeling what else is out there, kind of going like, what else can I, connect to? What else can I do? You've also just got gangbusters of planets coming into conjunction in your 6th house. So you're really adamant about like really searching for a job, looking, seeing what else is out there. How can you be of best service, stuff like that. So all of these trines, especially, I would say really watch for when the Sun in Pisces starts coming into a sextile with the North Node, for when there can be some kind of insight into new opportunities and offers, especially teaching, the first half of March. I have a feeling that when the Sun comes into conjunction with Jupiter, or when Venus comes into conjunction with Jupiter, that those can be job opportunities and changes in regards to your career. So like that was mid-March, and then again the 3rd week of April. Those are the 2 times when you're going to see this being possible. Because the Sun-Jupiter conjunction that's coming in Pisces in your 8th house, that's really positive when it comes to new creative work endeavors. So I kind of see the energy being more flavored with your own business, being more flavored with your journals, your jewelry, that stuff. When you start seeing like Venus sextiling Jupiter or Venus sextiling the North Node, that'll be more teaching gigs and opportunities, right? I'm more curious and kind of interested in this discussion about, oh, well, I think I'm going to go somewhere else for a period of time or spend some time overseas. That's more coming up because in whole house, you have Uranus in your 10th, and you're getting ready to see Jupiter pretty soon over the summer going into your 9th. So I kind of feel like it's full steam ahead with your creative stuff, and also really getting serious about making plans to possibly spend part of the summer overseas, because Jupiter is just ingressing and going into Aries. Mars is going to be there. Yeah, it's going to feel a little impulsive, but I feel like it might be actually a good move. I'm just curious about what's going to happen when possibly things start rolling out and you start realizing that, there's potential job opportunities or offers or things that may happen while you're away over the summer, right? So it's about being strategic right now with all of the planets that are currently in your natal 6th house and looking at your schedule and your routine. This isn't me saying you can't do it all. This is just me saying pace yourself, because I think that right now with all the planets in Capricorn, it's like, I'm working, we can make this happen, but then it's also coming into a sextile with Neptune, and a lot of us may be surprised to realize that we've bit off more than we can chew in March and also in April. And my advice is to kind of take it slow and steady, slow and steady, because there's more opportunities for interviews and job changes and stuff like that. That's also going to come from the eclipses in your 10th house. Here's food for thought. When Jupiter goes into Taurus in about a year and a half, do you still want to be teaching, right? Do you want to make that segue into doing more of selling your jewelry? Because that can be a really pivotal time for selling your jewelry. So do you have an exit strategy for like how long you want to be doing the educational stuff before you really decide to go more in the creative direction, or possibly entertaining the idea of being able to do some kind of teaching or education even overseas? There's a way to like lump both of those together, Trying to launch the site sometimes between the 2nd and the 8th. Yes, you're on my wavelength. You probably want to wait until the moon goes in Taurus. And I would say when the moon goes into Taurus after the conjunction to Uranus, and maybe even when it's conjunct the North Node, trine Pluto. So yeah, 7th through the 8th is probably best. That's one of the better election dates for the month of March that I've seen, because then we start seeing lots of squares to the nodes and stuff like that. So just food for thought. Spending that month in Ireland during the summer, I say do it, not just because, I say do it primarily because Mars is going into Aries this summer, okay? So next year, Jupiter is still going to go into your 9th house, so you can still travel. But the problem is that then you're not going to have Mars, and actually next spring and going into summer, Mars is going to be in Cancer. We can look at the transits next summer. Mars in Leo, trining. That's going to start squaring. So it's really up to you. You know, some people would say that you can continue to travel while the North Node is in your whole sign 9th, which will be really until it goes through Aries. I say, why not do it when Jupiter is there and Mars is there and you're like, we're doing this. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's a little impulsive, but I think it's a good move, especially because Saturn in your 6th house is like desperately trying to shake up your routine. Sorry, I'm in the wrong year. Hello. Desperately trying to shake up your routine. And it's really about you kind of going, I need to make a change in my schedule, or I need a job that's going to facilitate really allowing me to be able to travel, that it's really important, or traveling and educating. So I'm wondering, is there a way for you to do both? Can you do both? You're in a 9th house annual perfection year. So that means when Jupiter and Mars ingress into your 9th house, which is going to be this summer, you go, right? You do it. I'm in a 9th house year too. Take me with you to Ireland, please. I would say you really have to do that, and maybe even perhaps being there and looking at the trines that it's actually going to start making to your ascendant and the squares to your sun. As crazy as it sounds, I'm like, is there a possibility that you go there, you connect, you meet people, and like, what if there is some teaching, you know, working abroad in some capacity, right? But when Mars and Jupiter go into Aries, people are going to be very surprised. It's like the Nike logo, like just do it. There are going to be things that are going to happen in May, June. That's just like, here we go. This is what we're doing. I don't know how it's going to go. I haven't really come up with a plan yet. I just know that this is what we're committing to. The Leo rising is going to love it. The trines to your Neptune is going to love it. It's going to be a really great change of pace. And what a beautiful way to kind of like wrap up what's been some really heavy retrogrades in your 6th house, and encouraging you to be willing to make changes in your career, be willing to change and getting out of your comfort zone maybe, right? So that's kind of my 2 cents. Not to mention the fact that my eyes go to the eclipses that are going to be happening this spring. And girl, you got an eclipse that's pretty much almost smack dab conjunct your midheaven. That tells me, with the sextile to Jupiter and also a slight trine to your Venus, your job's going to change anyway. So you probably should start making plans. Yeah, something big could happen while you're there. I'm especially curious because your 9th house lord is Mars, and you have Mars on your ascendant, that just going there, being there, it's going to be a complete energy shift. It's going to give you more incentive. It might make you kind of go, maybe I can go back. Mars will go retrograde at the end of this year in Gemini. So I could see that you're kind of still reworking and rethinking, you know, kind of your career anyway, and whether or not it's possible for you to get a job somewhere else, or continue your education, or be teaching in some other capacity. So hopefully that's helpful and answers all of your questions. But I definitely say, yes, definitely go to Ireland. Do it. Do it while you're in your 9th house perfection year. Take a risk and focus more on your creative stuff, and realize that both because of the eclipse in your midheaven this summer, a Mercury retrograde, a Mars retrograde, your job's going to change one way or another. So it's kind of great to kind of really grow that side hustle and see what else is out there, right? And do some exploring, look around, see if it's possible that there is some kind of opportunity for you to do some work there, because I think that is possible. You got Neptune in the 4th, you never know. Hopefully that's helpful. I loved going there. Go there during the summertime. It's so wet and cold the rest of the year. And if you're definitely going to go to Ireland, do consider, you know, like go north too, like go up to like Belfast and stuff, like really go and see the city, and go and see, what is it? The Hill of Tara. I think that's where it is. Is it there? I think that's there. Hopefully that's helpful for you. All right. So we got somebody else. Do we have another level 3? Let me know if there's anybody else. Catherine, yes. All right, so let's take a look here. Catherine is 11, 22, 67. And that was at 22:30. So what's that, 10:30? And that was, and that's right, Essex. All right, so let's take a look and see what is coming up for you, Catherine. I guess I should say good morning. How are you doing? How are you doing? Having the South Node now having gone through your Sun. It's approaching your Neptune. We talked a little bit about this. Let's see. What are your questions? Anything in particular that you would like to know? Girl, for all Leo risings, anybody who's watching this, even if you guys aren't getting a reading, listen to me, okay? Time to put your big boy and girl pants on, because I just got done doing the horoscopes and looking at the month ahead. And while I'm super hopeful and excited and optimistic for changes in the future, I know that March for some people is going to be like, oh my God, everything is melting down. What do I do? And people are either going to panic and freak out, or it's going to be a situation where people are going to go, whatever. Like, you know what? I'm sick of that job or that relationship anyway. Let it fall. So we want to keep the vibes up. We want to stay optimistic. We want to stay positive. We want to be meditating. We want to be reflecting on not this reality, but the new reality that's coming. Don't get lost in all of like the chaos and some of the stuff that you're seeing, the garbage on TV right now. Don't go into spiral mode. With that being said, Leo risings are definitely in it. And if you have any prominent placements in Scorpio, welcome to the Thunderdome. Probably, I mean, every 3 months you're going to feel like your life's changing this year, because fixed signs, they don't want to change. Scorpios definitely are going through a lot of change, lots of change in regards to relationships, partnerships, but also lots of changes in regards to learning to let go of like ego issues or selfishness or anything like that. In your case, Leo risings are more about coming into a period over the next month where you're going to see Mercury, Saturn, eventually Mars, Venus, all come into your 7th house. So you are having to learn how to partner, how to relate with people. And the 7th house is not just about butterflies and rainbows and marriage and happy ever after. Sometimes it's about telling people what the fuck is up. So with that being said, with all of these planets coming into your 7th house in an angular house for a Leo rising, that's already a lot. For it to be conjunct Saturn is like, oh no, you're going to learn this lesson. And for it to square the nodes is like doubly. So I'm not saying this to be like doom and gloom and scary. I'm just letting you know that it's really a time to rise to the occasion. And if you really want relationship and partnership, get ready, because it's going to be lots of... I think learning about what you want in relationships by seeing contrast. And I think like having, you know, Mercury come into the 7th house is like learning how to communicate, what people have to say. This is all 4 houses to Scorpio. So if we look at this from a Scorpio perspective, it's about changes in your emotions, letting go of the past, releasing people, making changes in your home, how you're feeling. And when we look at that under the lens of a Leo rising, it's about relationships. It's like, okay, cool. You just got done doing a bunch of like emotional clearing, relationship clearing. When you cord cut, people can have really weird reactions. So suddenly, like when you are having better boundaries, or you're cutting people out because you're focusing on the new, people can energetically feel that and respond to it and go, wait a second, what do you mean you're gone? What's happening, right? And I think of like Sun Jupiter being there right now is like really exciting and optimistic about the future. And you can meet other people. But then what's going to happen when Saturn and Mercury show up, you start having more serious conversations about relating and the future, maybe what you've been through. Maybe there's a little bit of telling other people, hey, I've had a really bit of a rough run. This is what I dealt with in the past. I'm not looking to go back there. It can also be a situation where it's just like, you have to learn that relationships are not all going to be about romance, glitz, and glamour. The Leo rising likes that. Certainly the Scorpio likes that. But when you have Aquarius in your 7th house, you want to find your best friend, right? Because when the drama, the romance, the sex, all that stuff wears off, are you still in love with that person? Do you have a solid foundation? So I think a lot of Leo risings are actually learning that it's not so much about that. It's about somebody you can rely on. Now, in your horoscope, Saturn rules the 6th house, so it still feels like you're going through like a bit of trial and error in relationships and still kind of working out the kinks of the past. And you're also working through some health-related things. Saturn rules your 6th house of health, before you're feeling more capable and on the up and up when it comes to relationships and partnerships, right? So you're still kind of in that healing zone, and there can be people who kind of show up a little too early. Aquarius is the future. So there can be some people who show up too early that are like, ta-da, I'm ready. And you're like, I'm still healing from like my last like relationship crisis. Like, get out of here, you know? And this can also be about relationships that you have with friends. It doesn't always have to be romantic. It can be friends. It can be business partnerships in general. Just learning how to trust people again, right? But when I look at this chart, you've got Jupiter and Neptune coming into an opposition with Pluto, and it's actually showing you that you can't hide away in your home. You have to like focus on emotional wellness and staying and remaining open to letting people in, letting the past be in the past, not letting it haunt you anymore, and really getting ready for these Thunderdome of transits that are going to be happening more so for you from April 1st on. So it's almost March. I'm giving you a month to be in your healing and work on your stuff. At that point in time, I'm telling you right now, prominent people are going to start showing up into your life. Because I'm looking at all the trines that are trining your South Node. I'm looking at all of the trines that are also going to be happening to your natal Juno. I'm looking at all of the sextiles happening to your North Node, right? It's about growing and learning and going into the next wave of partnerships and relationships, right? And it can be really good for you. It's just requiring you to emotionally release and heal from the past. Now, Catherine, I'm telling you, please at some point, I'm sure you will, but circle back around. Give it until about mid-April. When you have gone through this in mid-April, I want you to come back and talk to me about what you learned, because man, Venus being trapped in between Saturn and Mars for everybody is going to represent this period of like, ugh, this doesn't feel so good, you know, when it comes to getting along with other people. I'm adjusting. This is new. This is different. But guess what, guys? Next year, Pluto goes into Aquarius. So Saturn in Aquarius, Jupiter in Aquarius, the squares to all these planets in Aquarius. What do you think it's the cosmos trying to tell us? It's time to move towards more equal, conscious partnership, relating, right? And there's been lots of issues with security, stability, you know, holding on to pain, holding on to, you know, past items or people or money or whatever that's actually keeping us from that. And I want you to think back to 1993, 1994. That was the last time Saturn went through these transits. I also want you to think back to 2002. That was the last time that you had these nodal transits that you're having now. And it's always going to represent this whole like clearing of the past, moving, letting go, dealing with inner emotional turmoil, issues from your childhood, your family. So you might change your job, change your home, and then relationships change. It's all going to come in 3, especially for Leo risings. So even though you're a Scorpio, you really want to be listening to Leo a lot in this next month. It's going to be really helpful. Some people are going to come at you and they're going to be more of that Mars energy where they're going to fight. Some people are going to come at you with that Saturn and they're going to go, listen, you're my fucking soulmate. Get it together. We need to work together. And then there's going to be the Venus energy that comes in. And I think the Venus in Aquarius and the Venus conjunct Saturn can be much more serious commitments when it comes to partnerships in general. So it can be friends. So if you're like, hey, I don't want a romantic relationship, I'm just looking for a partnership, I'm looking for companionship, great, go there, right? But I got to tell you, there's a real interesting storyline that's playing out right now about relationships and whether or not you're going to be open to sharing your body, sharing your energy, sharing your money, sharing your resources with them. I mean, Jupiter's in your 8th, okay? And Jupiter's coming into an opposition with your Pluto and your natal Uranus, which means your life, your relationships, your home is all going to change very quickly. Very quickly. And somebody's coming in that's ready for you. So we need to kind of speed up the process of like really being ready. And I keep telling people, if you're holding on to past timelines, old timelines, it's going to be so difficult. It's going to be really difficult. It's most difficult for Leo risings, okay? And Scorpio risings, and Taurus suns, and Scorpio suns, and Aquariuses just don't give a shit because they're burning everything down because that's what they're good at doing. So they're leading the revolution of showing a lot of people, you know what, if it's not working, go your own way, right? 28 years, I left at 41. Thank God, then changed, and it's been tough the last few months. I agree with the relationship. I'll share my body when it works properly. Yes, you're healing, so you're okay. You got another month. And guess what? Even then, it's not about sexual love. Actually, in your chart, it doesn't even really start to begin about sexual love or anything in that capacity until, like, man, end of April going into May. Plenty of time, right? And by then, there is a lot of healing and renewal. By the way, Jupiter and Mars and Venus and Neptune all being in Pisces. We're going to see a lot of Pisces energy, which is all romantic for Scorpios this year, for this month and next month. And then we're also going to see it very heavy again in May and June. So it's really great for falling in love. It's just about practicing vulnerability. Be ready. That's my best advice for you. Be ready, because these eclipses that are happening in your 4th and your 10th are bringing you further into the ability to work, having expansion in your career. To me, it looks like maybe you need a partner to do that, right? So interesting for Scorpios, because I'm not just seeing it for Leo risings, I'm seeing it for Scorpios too. Scorpios are realizing that they are very resourceful, but they need some kind of help or support from a partnership. It's the eclipses, and vice versa. Taurus is experiencing it as well. So you have a lot to look forward to. Focus on your healing and remain open. And I would just say, buckle up, get ready, because you're going to have some people that are not going to understand why you cut them off. But they need to stay there. They need to stay there. Hopefully that's helpful for you. I've got Susan, Stephanie, and Leslie so far in the queue. There might be more. Let me check. Don't worry. I haven't forgot you guys. I appreciate your patience. So yeah, so we'll have Susan, Stephanie, Leslie, Margaret, and then we're going to have Nancy. Welcome back, Nancy. All right, so let's go ahead and look at Susan. Susan, are you here? Let me know. Good luck, Catherine. Susan, every time I see your name, I think of your pretty little southern voice in my head. 10-12-62. I see you, Margaret. Don't worry. And that was at 9:04 a.m. Okay, so Susan may not be here, so if she's not, that's okay. She can come back and listen. So she says, please tell me when this shit is going to be done. Spoken like a real Scorpio rising. I have drama from every direction. My son bought some land next to my ex, and he is pissed that me and my son got the land. Now my son wants to just sell it to him because of the drama. He's playing big dog these days, huge boat, huge house, and he's a girlfriend or something at his time. Honestly, don't know if he has the money. I don't think he is stalling. Drama between my son and his dad and his wife. Drama from every direction. I'm so stressed trying to get this Airbnb finished. I just feel like I don't belong anymore. Tell me things are going to get better. Can you guys tell that all the fixed signs are just like stressed? Okay. So let's talk about this. Because for a Scorpio rising chart, you have Saturn, the most southern part of your chart. So it is dealing with home, property, real estate, things like that. Neptune is the ruler of your children. So I'm actually seeing that there is sextiles happening pretty soon here. And I guess the positive news is like After what appears to be a bit of strife in this chart that's still coming, as much as I want to be like, everything's going to be okay, it's not quite done yet. Issues with neighbors, and I'm more concerned about like your son getting involved and trying to kind of hash it out with him can come about. So he can cause a little bit of conflict, especially when we see Mars and Mercury coming into a square with your Neptune, which is the ruler of your 5th house of children, which tells me that your son would like go to bat and be like, leave my mom alone, stop fucking with her, don't talk to her, like, you know, that kind of stuff. Maybe threatening him. Be careful, because I wouldn't put it past him to either contact the authorities, because Neptune's in the 12th, or try to get your son like angry and get something on tape. So he has something to basically say, I'm going to report this, or you guys, you know, like get out of here. Like really sit down with your son and have a conversation and explain to him that he needs to keep his cool. But I would say stand your ground, because by the time Mars and Venus sit on your Saturn, you're like, we're not going anywhere. We're staying here. And that might be the conversation that you actually end up having somewhere around March 11th. I would encourage you, if you continue to have problems, to monitor all of the contact between him. Put some kind of video or some kind of security somewhere around the property, because Mercury is suggesting that if you do that and if you have some kind of security or proof, it can make the whole issues in regards to you being harassed a little bit easier, especially right around mid-March. And when it comes to like old lovers or people who you've been involved with, that's both your 5th house, can be your 7th. And this is the eclipses in your 7th house, and Uranus, your 4th house lord of home and property, going into the 7th. So it's kind of like if you and your family have land, or you're around somebody who you're in a relationship with, it can cause strife. This is the case for a lot of Scorpio rising charts, so just be mindful. Unfortunately, this whole like home property security kind of fight is really going to hit a peak when conjunctions happen with Mars, Venus, and Saturn. And, you know, this isn't really going to clear up and become a little bit more peaceful until closer to the better part of the 2nd half of April. At that point in time, there can be more peace. So maybe it's a matter of like, you know, basically putting them on alert and being like, look, here's the deal. You either stop contacting us, or, you know, we're going to get in touch with local authorities. We are monitoring all of your communication, and also if you are on our property, we're going to report it because we are now having it monitored. It's definitely worth putting up some kind of surveillance. Trust me on this, it's smart. In regards to previous relationship drama, well, you've got Mars, Venus, and Pluto conjunct in your 3rd house, and Venus is still kind of in shadow. She's coming into conjunction with Pluto. So it can be a situation where other neighbors might start keeping an eye on your property and kind of, you know, letting you know when stuff's going on. There can be really intense exchanges that you're having with people from the past, right? Because the past doesn't really want to die hard. But I believe when Venus comes into conjunction with Saturn and he realizes you're not going anywhere, somewhere around the end of March, this is going to break. I'm hoping this doesn't materialize as a woman showing up on the property, because Venus can be a woman or a woman related to somebody else, especially when you see like the Mercury, Neptune, sextiles to the North Node. So I don't want her coming over and trying to make the peace, or like, you know, threatening you guys. Like literally, peace, 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 peace. Look at what's going on in the world, right? Everybody's raging war right now. And if you can focus on trying to keep the peace, and if it's not possible and they're threatening you, document it and let them know that you're going to be contacting the authorities. I have said this to you before, and I'll say this to you again. The 2 placements that I've seen that most prominently, that I've been going through a lot of like cycling out of old relationship drama, have been Libra and Taurus placements, because this Venus-Pluto stuff is gnarly. And in your chart, to me, it seems like it's finally kind of clearing out and giving you so much strife with somebody from the past that you're like, now all of my feelings for this person are dead and gone. I can't see myself going back. It's not possible for me to stay connected to this person in this capacity anymore. Now I'm not even remotely considering him. I know it's hard, but I also know that as Uranus goes into your 7th house, It's about kind of getting you ready for a new partnership or relationship. I know that you've been in one. I don't know what the deal is there, but I'll tell you, with all of the conjunctions in your 5th house, especially to your moon, there's going to start being a new either renewal in romance and relationships with a current partner, or somebody new who's going to come in. And not all is what it may seem. Down the road, Mars will retrograde in your 7th house, and I know it's going to make aspects to all that mess that he has in Pisces. Yes, I remember his chart. And I get the impression and the feeling that there's a possibility that you're finding out more about this down the road, like later in the year, you know, when Mars goes retrograde, that it maybe didn't pan out. Mars is going to drop into your 7th house. Maybe he tries to communicate or come over and make peace. No. Try not to get too wrapped up in what's not working, or what he's got going on. Okay, that's not something that you want to worry yourself with, because actually, with Saturn squaring Uranus all year, they're still trying to clear the past, release the past, let the past go. And I don't feel like letting the home or letting the property go is a good idea. So, you know, and Saturn in the 4th is going to help you stand your ground. So whether that's like, you know, getting some kind of protective order, putting a fence up, having cops show up to the house and document it. I mean, I'm going to tell you something. Saturn in your 4th is not going to fuck around. It's going to help you stay protected. It's also going to trine your sun, which tells me that if this comes up in any capacity in regards to dealing with a judge, lawyers, you know, talking to people, whatever. Also, Leo is your children. First of all, your kid's going to go to bat for you, but like I said, keep it peaceful. But he also can be somebody who is going to almost be like a witness that's like, look, he's, you know, this is what's going on. He's threatening us. He's, you know, harassing us. A lot of it does depend on your sun's astrology as well. But I'll tell you, with Jupiter and Neptune coming into your 5th, it's basically aligning with your 2nd house, which can be purchases, and the 5th, which is children, which is they're holding on to it. They will be victorious, and there is much better times ahead, both in regards to your relationship with your children, your love life, what have you, as we get further into the spring. But Susan, I'm going to tell you, okay, it's going to get a little sticky there for a little bit. I think Scorpio risings are really in for it when they think that all is going to be pleasant, either within the home or the property or the family zone. There's a lot of having to stand up, having to protect yourself in some capacity. And I would say do not choose the path of getting crazy or violent, because he will flip it on him really, really quick. But as soon as we get to the 2nd half of April, it's going to ease up. The Saturn-Uranus squares will return in September. Don't let him run you out of town, girl. And maybe do something, work with Saturn. You know, I would say, like, I had Saturn in my 4th, and when I had my Saturn return in the 4th, I every Saturday would like wake up, hey Saturn, give offerings to Saturn. I would do Saturn mudras. I would meditate. I had Saturn symbol up, protecting my home, protecting my space, and worked a lot with Saturn. And when I got to the other side of some of the weird kind of difficult transits happening within the neighborhood, it was fine. And I did not move, and I did not have to move. So just food for thought. Hopefully that's helpful for you. We've got Stephanie. Then I'm going to circle back around to Leslie. Then we've got Margaret, and then we've got Nancy. Thank you guys for your patience. I appreciate it. No, Margaret, you don't, as long as I have your info. So no, you're good. Okay, so let's take a look at Stephanie. And anything major for my son, 3/31/2015. And that was at 11:41 a.m. Omaha. Cancer rising, moon in Leo. This is a chart ruled by the moon. Saturn is coming into an opposition with his sun. So, excuse me, with his moon. Question. So let me know if you're here, Stephanie. One is, are you, yeah, that's the dog snoring. Sorry, guys. My question is, are you contemplating or considering moving? Are you contemplating or considering putting him into school, changing schools? Is there anything like that going on? If it's a move, it looks like a bigger move. Or is there some possible potential like separation going on? I know that sounds weird, but you've got the 7th house lord coming into opposition with his chart ruler. So it's either a move, changing of schools, issues maybe with him relating with a sibling, there being some sibling rivalry, or some kind of friction in regards to relationships and communication. Is that going on? The transit that your son's going through all this year is going to be Saturn coming into opposition with his moon, and that's his chart ruler. Leo moon in the late degrees is a little theatrical, a little dramatic, and possibly this is like some separation issues even with you, and kind of feeling like you're having to assert authority a little bit more. Maybe it's just trying to get him to kind of like listen and behave. I also see that Chiron is conjunct his sun and his south node. Yes, I want to move. Yes, I got full custody. Okay, great, move. It's going to be challenging. To me, I would say you want to really look at school districts and looking at where he's going to be going to school. The Chiron on his sun makes me feel like there's issues with communicating because there might be inconsistent communication or visitation with his father. And that he's having a hard time expressing himself. And with Leo moon, sometimes you just see full-blown meltdowns, right? Yep, he's getting a little angry. I love looking at kids' charts because it helps me talk to parents and basically be like, hi, this is what's going on. And once you know, then you can kind of better, work with them. So my favorite thing to do is to look at kids' charts. Being that Saturn's going to be opposed to the moon, it's a lot of like how he communicates and talks to mom, and mom's frustration in regards to poor communication with the father, and the fact that dad doesn't always help with the kid, doesn't always talk to you about the kid. I would say you don't want to vent to your son about that, okay? And also, you guys want to be focusing on not bad-mouthing each other. If his dad's not showing up, then you show up and you focus on being his mother figure. Chiron on his sun tells me that he's having issues in regards to feeling like he doesn't have somebody who's there for him. So there in turn, it's making him feel like he's not, valued. So it's really important, especially with an Aries like that. And the sun's conjunct to south node also. So that can represent some kind of detachment with the father. So this isn't you. This is souls come in, they choose this stuff. This is what happens, unfortunately. But look at his moon. His moon is whole sign. It's in his 2nd house and it's in Leo, which means one of his most prized possessions is his mother. It is his mother. So it's really, really important for you to realize that although this year it might be hard and he's frustrated, it's not towards you, it's towards his dad, and he doesn't know how to communicate and relate that, Chiron is at 10 degrees. That's Chiron conjunct the sun. And Pallas Athena is at 4 degrees of Aries, coming into conjunction with the sun as well. Chiron on the sun and Chiron on the south node, it's like doubly painful. And it makes him feel like it's hard for him because he looks at things and goes like, what's happening? And opposite natal. That's just Earth. Yeah. When I have it set up for Earth. So it's like a little upside down Venus. So, yeah, I mean, being that, his sun's conjunct the south node, it's some kind of detachment from the father, but where the father lacks, mom really shows up, and it's very valuable. Therapy is wonderful. I think that's great. I think that I would stay with that through the Mercury retrograde in Gemini into Taurus, because he's going to have a Mercury retrograde in his 12th house, and you want to see how he's behaving and how that's playing out, and if he's responding better emotionally. Stick with it till about the end of May. See how that goes. Jupiter's going to come into Aries. It's going to conjunct his sun. He's going to be feeling a lot better. Physical sports, activity, things like that can be really great for him. I think that's also about kind of saying to him, like, you're the man of the house now. You know, it's your job to help also, you know, be there for mom and support mom and protect the family, and give him little things to do. He'll like that. So basically be like, okay, you know, here's your responsibility. You know, water the plants, or you make your bed, you help mom make dinner, or just little things. So he's going to feel like he's healing that wound revolving around not having a paternal figure, and that you're actually teaching him how to be like a stand-up guy. That's very important, by the way, because there's lots of healing coming. If you have a sun, a moon, a rising, a north node, anything around, let's say like 0 through, you know, 17 degrees of Aries, what's going to happen over the summer is there's going to be quick things that are going to happen that are going to bring up wounds, but we're going to have the opportunity to learn and heal through that. Jupiter on his sun tells me that he's going to start learning the value of showing up and being reliable. And, you know, he's what, barely 7 years old. So maybe it's something like, you know, if you do all of your chores, you're going to get, you know, $2 a week. And you're teaching him what it means to show up and be responsible and consistent, and just the value of like work ethic and stuff. I know it sounds like silly, and almost probably some people are like, what, that's a little militant, but he'll like that, right? It'll be really helpful for him. And I'm also watching all of this energy trine his natal Saturn. So it's also going to help him with responsibility, consistency, doing things, and feeling like he can be supportive. But yeah, Saturn in opposition to Moon, you might want to look into that transit. It's just going to be harder communicating, expressing his feelings. He's young, but you might want to start talking to him about, okay, but how does that make you feel? Writing, keeping a journal, that can be also something that's really helpful for him in the midst of that process as well. And yeah, definitely, you know, be really, really helpful with him through that process. I guess one other thing I would say is that one thing that you do have in this next year is Jupiter is going to start coming into Aries in 2023 fully, and it's going to start trining his natal Jupiter again, and also his moon. He's going to make more friends. His self-esteem is going to be better. He's going to be feeling better. So if he's feeling like he's not really socializing or acclimating as well, things are going to get a little bit easier next year. So hopefully that is helpful for you and your little guy. Okay, so now I'm going to switch over here. Let's chat with Leslie, and then we'll get Margaret, and then Nancy. We're going to call last call pretty soon too, guys. So if you guys want to get your reading, get them in now. And yes, apologies. There is nobody sleeping in my room. There is not a person in here. It's just a French bulldog, and he is loud. But his Venus is on my sun. So if he's not around me, he's like meltdown city. So learning to kind of live with it. All right, let's go ahead and look at Leslie. Been at a standstill since 2020. I feel like it's time to go, but I feel blocked. Can you just tell me what is coming, please? June 5th, 91. TJ. And this is 3:30 p.m. Okay, Leslie, this is for you. His therapist recommended I tell him about his father's drug problem. Maybe wait till June on that. Just food for thought. That's when it's going to be a better time to approach him. Okay, so looking at Leslie being at a standstill since 2020. So Libra rising. Venus is your chart ruler. Venus has been retrograde in your 4th, so it's made Libra risings a little disgruntled, feeling stuck, not knowing how to break through. Leslie, my dear, the next couple days, you want to pay attention. Moon, Venus, Mars, Pluto, all coming into an opposition with your Venus in the 10th. So it's like where is it where you're living, your home, your family dynamics need to change and transform so you can go deeper into what your purpose is. It's going to be an emotional next couple of days for you, and especially around March 5th, and then it's going to break and it's going to kind of level off a little bit. So just a heads up. In a standstill, to me, this more seems like either with your emotions, not being able to let go of the past, feeling stuck in a domestic or a family matter, not being able to move. There's something going on here, right? And actually the truth is that for a Libra rising chart, when you get through the heaviness of all of the conjunctions and the oppositions that you're experiencing, and then you start getting into March, it's like, it sounds really silly, but it's going to be a lot of like, what am I passionate about? What makes me happy, right? Like, what do I want? The 5th house is falling in love. It's romance, dating, pregnancy, children, creative projects, being self-employed. And it's really forcing a lot of Libra risings to really start asking, like, what are you creating? You know, what kind of a life are you creating? And are you in love with life? Are you missing love? Do you need to find your passion? You know, I also see that you are still kind of in your Saturn return. So, you know, people who have conjunctions in Capricorn and then a North Node in Capricorn and then a Saturn in Aquarius is like, what was supposed to be a year of a Saturn return has more been like almost the better part of 4 years. And you started your Saturn return early. So I think a lot of it going to school, you know, going back to school was a good idea. You did that when you had your Saturn transits in the 3rd. But you're still in the midst of your Saturn return. I mean, Saturn in the 4th, it's dealing with your emotions and your feelings. And I have to tell you that looking at this, something about creative hobbies, fun, romance, partnerships is really kind of heating up. And one thing you want to get in the habit of asking yourself is, does this bring me joy? Whether it's a relationship, a hobby, whatever it is that you're doing, keep asking yourself that. It's going to be so important because the squares to the nodes, they suck. There's no way around that. I'm not going to lie to you. But the benefit of being either a Libra rising or a Gemini rising right now is that all trines your ascendant. And the Libra rising ascendant is here to relate to other people. So to me, it's like if you can't relate to people emotionally or romantically or people in your home and your family, you're going to be like, bye, I'm out of here. I'm leaving this in the past. I don't want to do this anymore. You may not really start feeling this transition, though, until the better part of the beginning of April. You're having Saturn coming into conjunction with Mars and Venus and a bunch of other things, and I'm just going to be honest with you. The first 2 weeks of March looks like you're really in your feelings. And I would say you don't want to be reflecting on relationships from the past. You don't want to be reflecting on what didn't work with family. There is a need for you to move forward. Aquarius in your 4th house is the family you're born into and the family you make. So if there's been disappointments with a parent, with siblings, with family members in general, there's this breakthrough and you're going to be like, oh, I can have family because I can, you know, live with roommates, or I can create family, or I've got a best friend that feels like a sister or a brother, that type of stuff, right? So it's actually about kind of clearing that out and helping you restructure the way that you look at family. And what you have to gain through clearing out all the gunk is pretty damn good, because then you have planets go into your 5th house. It gets romantic, creative. It starts sextiling your 7th house. Relationships are going to improve immensely. But that's only if you're really letting the past go. So I don't know if that's important to you. Over the next year and a half, you're going to have Pluto come into an opposition with your Venus. And that's going to materialize as like, am I living where I need to live in order to facilitate what it is that I want to facilitate for my life? Venus in Cancer is nurturing, emotional, caretaking. So you're probably looking at a situation closer to next year when Pluto opposes your Venus that you're having to take a leap of faith, make a change, move somewhere else so you can go deeper into your career, but deeper into relationships, right? So there's a lot on the other side of this about 1 year from now. So if you're feeling stuck, I would say, being that you are, I'm trying to do math here, you are what, 31? No, you're 30. So you're gonna be 31 this year, right? I'm trying to do math. Sorry, my brain is fried. Yeah. It's really important for you to pay attention to the transits that are going to be happening in May and June. When planets go through Taurus, that's when you're going to have the most change. Personally, I would say depending on what happens over the next 2 weeks, there can be major changes and transformations with how you're feeling, where you're living, that kind of stuff. Yeah, you're in your 7th house here. So you want to watch, because your birthday is not going to be until the summer. So when planets go into your 7th house, it'll be more so relationship oriented. So your 7th house lord is Mars. So if you're still dealing with old romantic entanglements, if you're still dealing with drama with relationships with siblings, let it go. And by the time you see planets go into your 5th house and it's more harmonious, healing in April. And I get the impression there's new potential relationships shaping up for you May, June, July. So 7th house years are really significant, especially when you have Mars going there in whole sign and you also have Jupiter going there in whole sign. Like, oh my goodness. Watch what happens in June. Things are going to change in a very big way. And it all starts sextiling and making aspects to your Saturn. So be open to new relationships, support in any capacity, especially not just romantic, but friends. Mars and Jupiter are going to go into your 7th and they're going to trine your Mars, which tells me you're either going to travel, hang out with a group of friends, a friend's going to set you up with somebody, a really prominent relationship is coming. Very big transit. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Let me know. Okay, so now we can get over here to Margaret. Yeah, get ready, girl, because everything's about to change. 3/12/1980. 8:15 a.m. And that was in Richmond, Virginia. All right, so let's take a look at your chart. How is this special fish Taurus Capricorn setup affecting me? I like that. Fish, special fish Taurus Capricorn setup. So sitting on my hands, trying not to blow my life up. Well, Venus retrograde's over, so that's good. I'm more concerned about you blowing a job or a relationship up more than anything. Part of me feels inclined to tell you that it's Uranus on your ascendant and you're going to be feeling very restless and like that you need freedom, and whether that's freedom away from your job, freedom away from responsibilities, freedom on your own. I mean, that's just part of the course. This is not news to you though. Uranus has been conjunct your Venus for several years now, okay? And what if I told you that blowing your life up, if in some way, shape, or form, you're not feeling like you're living an authentic life, is probably better than staying in old, outdated patterns, right? Fixed risings don't want to change. And look at that Capricorn moon that's just getting crushed right now. Whole sign that's in your 9th, but it's a lot of like whether or not you're really enjoying your career, if you believe in your career. I would advise you to really take a look at what you're potentially building, and that you need to be doing something where you feel like you're a part of a team and that you need some team building exercises in general. The next 2 months, Mars, Venus, Saturn, all those planets, they're gonna not only square the nodes in your whole sign 10th house of your career, but they're also going to square Uranus. So it tells me that you've got a situation with a relationship where you've got somebody who's just as restless, and you might be kind of looking at it kind of going like, oh my gosh, you know, this is a little concerning because we're not getting on well, right? Personally, I kind of feel like let's make lemonade. You are 42 this year, so it's almost your birthday. And that is going to materialize as it being a 7th house annual perfection year ruled by Mars. So when the eclipses happen in your 7th house, when Mars makes an aspect or a conjunction, stuff happens. And to me, it's more looking like what's building up is you kind of going, am I splitting up with somebody, or am I splitting up with my job, or am I splitting up with somebody that I'm working with or for? I wish I could tell you which one, but honestly, it's getting hit both ways, right? This is the kind of chart that's like relationships change, job change, you find freedom, you move, and you're like, oh my God, that was a horrendous year, but you know, it's amazing that I was able to move through it. Children is more going to be your sun. And so I think with Neptune on your sun right now, and it's in your, you know, your whole sign 11th, it's about finding groups and associations and people who can help you, friends you can lean on, groups and nonprofit associations that can help you, especially because Jupiter rules your 8th house and also your natal 11th. So friends might come to your aid, other people, services might be able to help you and kind of support you so you can start getting more support for some of the children personally. And Jupiter coming into conjunction with your sun especially. So I would say like this is a time where you actually really want to be hitting that hard and looking for assistance any which way you can get it, especially between now and June, because some miraculous things can show up that can really help you, either if you need mental, emotional, spiritual support, if you need a social worker, if you need somebody who can help you, you know, collaborate, work with a nonprofit so you can help get kind of services possibly in regards to healthcare or emotional care for your children. It's a matter of just being like, hi, I need help. Right? But I'm more looking at your 7th house. 7th house can be people who show up to assist you. South Node coming in conjunction with Uranus is I'm more concerned with a partner or a relationship that's not supporting you in some capacity. So that's something that I'm more concerned about. And when you have conjunctions with Mars and Saturn, there can be a breaking point. So that's in April. Things get a little bit easier when Mars comes into conjunction with Neptune and also Jupiter and the Sun. That's more about your spiritual healing, prayer, meditation, reflection, joining a group of people who can support you. And Pluto's off your moon, so that's wonderful. Saturn's coming into conjunction with your South Node, and it's opposing your Mars. This tells me you're going to get involved with like a group, an organization, a service, friends, people who you start working with, like people who may also have special needs children. You work with them, you work that community, you support each other. Saturn's going to hit your South Node. You're going to bring in karmic friendships. It's going to oppose your Mars, and you're going to have friends going, leave him. Leave him. You don't have the support you need. That's what I'm most looking at here. And all year with Saturn in opposition to your Mars, which is in your 4th house whole sign, 5th house of children, the responsibility of children are going to be heavy. They are. But because of some of the decisions that you make, the changes that you make, literally this year, it will manifest as you having a breakthrough and realizing that you don't need to rely on partners or people who are not actually giving you support. Jupiter is in your sign. It's going to bring you assistance. And that can be services of some kind or you know, state-run services and things like that, right? The most intense, I think, is going to be between now and April. And then things are going to kind of ease up a little bit. You'll have eclipses in your 1st house. I do feel inclined to tell you to pay attention to your health because the eclipses in your 1st house, sextiling your 12th house sun, makes me feel like all of the mental, emotional stress can really wear on your physical body. And for Taurus risings right now with the eclipses in the 1st and the North Node in the 1st, it's all about you. What do you need? Do you have enough support, enough resources, enough security, enough love? And when you see how that starts sextiling Mercury and Pisces, you'll start meeting people who are like, I've had the same issues, you know, how can I help you and how can you help me, right? So there's something like that that's kind of setting up for you. So you're really go through the thick of it until about the 2nd half of April. All the fixed signs, I'm going to keep saying this. If you guys haven't already seen my video that I did, I can't remember which one it is now, but I did a video recently where I was like basically telling people as we're getting into March and April, people are going to start kind of going, oh my gosh, I'm white knuckling things, you know, it's the squares. But I'm going to do I have my videos for my horoscope coming out probably this weekend. I just did them. They're 3 hours long because the world's on fire. And I also am going to do my March monthly tomorrow. So you guys tune in, watch that. I'll explain a lot of the squares and what's going on, especially if you have a lot of fixed placement. It'll be really helpful for you. But I'm like looking at this going, oh my goodness, Margaret, like there's some, I mean, I'm not even being dramatic. Like there's some like guardian angel that's going to show up with the Jupiter, Venus, Neptune conjunction on your sun, trine Uranus, where it's like if you let go of people who aren't supporting you and you just let go and let God, other people are going to come in and you're going to have support. Spiritual support. Look at like centers and nonprofit organizations and group facility organizations. They'll start helping you. You'll be able to. You just have to ask for it. You just have to ask. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful. Sending you lots of good vibes. Hey, Phoenix. Hey, Angelie. I'm looking forward to chatting with you soon. Hi, Phoenix. I'm happy to do that. Let me grab Nancy and Rachel, and then you will be my last person. Fixed fuckery. Whew. You know, I have all cardinal planets. I have a stellium of planets in Scorpio, so I feel like the last 3 years I got my ass kicked squaring my stellium in my 4th house and my 7th house moon and my 10th house Jupiter, and I was like, oh, I'm getting a break. And then this happens. You're very welcome, Margaret. Good vibes in your direction. Okay, Nancy, what's going on? Let's see here. 9583. I should know this by now, huh? And that was at 7:45, Houston, Texas. Okay, what to expect in general after the Venus shadow ends on March 5th? Good question. Good question. So, when the Venus shadow ends, she's referencing the Venus retrograde that's been happening. We're done, but it doesn't come out of shadow until it hits about 27 degrees. It actually retrograded around 26, 27 degrees. So, there's one more last hit to Pluto. Actually, as we speak, the moon is conjunct Venus and Mars right now. So there's some passionate stuff setting up already. Oh, let me see. Did I miss you, Kristen? Maybe it hasn't processed. I'll get you too. Don't worry. Yep, I got you. You're in there. Don't worry. But when the Venus shadow ends, because in your astrology, Venus rules your whole sign 3rd, and it also rules your 8th. It's about breakthroughs in regards to paperwork, conversations, documents, and stuff, especially in regards to money owed. Okay? But what's going to happen? Well, here's the good news. Venus coming into a conjunction with Mars is like having us really passionate about gaining something, especially in your chart. It's like, that's mine. And it's going to conjunct Pluto, which is your 9th house lord, which tells me actually, just thinking back to your situation with the money that's owed to you in the school and the education, like they could have literally done something that's illegal. Venus is going to come into conjunction with Pluto and Mars with the moon. So we're getting a feeling for it now. So we're getting revved up now. But as soon as it comes out of this conjunction and it goes into Aquarius, it's going to be in your 12th house of education, and it's going to trine Mercury. So you may unexpectedly get correspondence, emails, phone calls in regards to this school thing. You may unexpectedly have a dream about an ex in some capacity, or somebody, you know, reaches out to you from the past out of the blue and you're like, what? Especially because it will immediately trine your Chiron. So it's going to heal something, and it's going to immediately trine your Mercury, which is going to want to communicate, and it's going to be like, oh, no, let's try to work this out. Especially if you're like, hi, I'm going to sue you because it's your 9th house lord. If they don't show up, or if people don't have anything of value As soon as Mars and Venus come into conjunction with your Lilith and Saturn, that's when you're going to be like, I'm not fucking around, because it's squaring the nodes. So then it gets a little bit more serious. I would advise everybody to just, man, you know, you got to take March. It's like we got to chill, because we've got all these planets that are actually going to be 12th house to Pisces, that getting angry, getting riled up, you know, starting a bunch of stuff, things like that. We want to see how the energy goes as we get to closer to March. So if you're suing them and they realize that you're suing them and you let them know, it's like all of a sudden they might be really, you know, quick to go like, oh, let's fix this. Let's make this better. But something intuitively tells me that by the time you get to the end of March, beginning of April, that if they haven't responded, they haven't paid you back, when all those planets start to trine Pluto, then you're tacking on legal expenses, then you're tacking on mental, emotional trauma, then you're attacking, I mean, then there's more, right? Then there's going to be more. They're going to owe more, right? And then they're going to really regret it. And I would say, you know, can this get handled in a peaceful manner? Mars and Venus makes me feel like they'll be really quick to want to do it. But the closer that you get to the end of March, beginning of April, it may be like a point where you can't turn back and you've already started the process of actually suing them. And then it's just like tough shit. You know? But something about the eclipses in your second house makes me feel like if it does go that long, possibly it might be a situation where, you know, then all of a sudden they want to renegotiate and they want to kind of try to pay this off. Yep, damages added. Pow, pow, pow. Yeah, it's the... Yeah. And the other thing is that you may have to get more assertive, or like may actually have to have them served, or something is going on where you're actually getting a signature and you can clarify, you know, that they have received it. So just be mindful of that. But yeah, it's almost like, you know, if that does happen, that's unfortunate for them, but there's going to be a lot of back and forth and trying to settle this out with the eclipses that are coming in May. Especially so you can put that money back into good use. And if you feel like you do want to go to school and you do want to continue what you're doing and you want to go somewhere else, guess what? You can. When Mars and Venus are coming into a trine with your natal Jupiter Uranus, you can do that. And that's going to get settled out so much better at the end of May going into June. Keep me updated. Let me know. Hopefully that pans out for you. Got Rachel and Kiki. Feels like a big wounding healing time for me in love and relationships. What do you see to focus on? Bring in the best relationships. Still kind of letting go of horse PG pants booty call man. Sorry. Okay, sorry. We're friends. Okay, 5484. You're a Taurus. You should not be easily bought like that. You cannot be bought by some cheap ass pajama pants. 2:30 p.m. Here we go. You're welcome, Nancy. Good luck. So the question was more so revolving around still healing. What do you see to focus on to bring in the best relationship? Well, I kind of feel inclined to tell you this is kind of like a wedding and a funeral. Have you ever heard of that term? Is that a movie? I don't know where that came from. But there's a wedding and a funeral. The funeral is taking place in your 5th house with Mars, Venus, Pluto, and the moon. And like tonight and tomorrow, you're super in your feelings. That's okay. You can be in your feelings. Let yourself have one last dramatic night. You know, do your thing. Get it all out of your system. But we want to let it go because guess what? It's taking up so much of your time. You're going to realize that when Mars and Venus are coming into conjunction with Saturn, you're going to be like, oh my God, I wasted so much time and I could have been focusing on doing more and reorganizing my schedule. And I've been just wasting so much time on this that it's going to make it more difficult moving forward. And it's also trying to teach you healthier tendencies and patterns, you know? You'll see. I mean, you know, it's kind of like the last rumbles and rolls now until, I don't know, March 7th. here's an idea. On the new moon, and you can do it on the new moon, when the moon is closer to conjunction with Jupiter and Neptune on March 2nd, or you can do it on, you know, March 7th, really whenever you want when the moon's in Taurus. We're going to manifest, like literally manifest. And I want you to either sit down and create, like, it sounds so, please don't take this the wrong way. Whoever's watching this, it's going to sound really weird. Make a collage of like your perfect man. Okay. And if it's like, you know, who is your celebrity crush, Rachel? Who is that person? Or is it a group of people, right? Because if you're like a diehard Ryan Gosling fan, like I am, or if you're like, hey, there's like 8 different people and I like the way his jaw looks and his personality and his smarts, whatever. I don't care. This sounds super shallow, but Pisces is visual, it's manifestation. So I want you to find something creative, 5th house, sextiling the 7th house, in regards to manifesting what your perfect partner could be like. Try to be more focused on a multitude of factors, not just really what they look like, but what they're bringing to the table. And it's a really, really powerful time for you to be manifesting. This is also going to be really important for you to really, in terms of your self-talk and your communication or whatever, really focusing on clearing out those thoughts, because there is a theory that when your ascendant lord comes into conjunction with Jupiter and your 7th house, you're like triple manifesting, right? Damn cricket on the floor. Patrick Swayze. Okay, fine, fuck it. Patrick Swayze. But I want you to, by the time you get to March 15th, like, I'm going to baby shake you. Where do you live, Rachel? I'm going to come find you. Like, seriously. And this isn't me saying I'm frustrated with your questions. I'm telling you that because I see the manifestation possibilities, and not just manifestation, like something will show up. I can't wait to the day that I get on my live show and you're like, holy shit, he showed up. Because I look at this and I go, we can't hold the same manifestation or the same visualization of relationships or whatever. Like you're not going to be able to do that. It's trying to get that to break down. And I'm going to warn you, you don't want this to materialize because you're being stubborn. It's like a healing crisis. Okay, so like Mars, Venus, and Saturn coming into conjunction with your 6th house as you get sick because you have a broken heart, because you're not releasing and letting go and having healthier tendencies. You don't want to miss Mercury in conjunction to Jupiter and Neptune. This is so strong. March 18th, pretty much until the 27th. At that point in time, it's like that person is not around anymore. Obviously, we don't wish somebody to be dead, but I'm just saying in the sake of Pluto, maybe it's because I have lots of Pluto placements, it's like it's got to be out of sight, out of mind. So maybe it's a good idea today, tomorrow, maybe the dark of the moon, right before the new moon, take anything and everything that you have connected to that person, put it in a box and fucking bury it. I know it sounds dramatic, but that's what Pluto is. It's death and like ritualizing the fact that it's gone. And you're also committing to not looking into that person, not following up on that person, not checking in with that person, not having sex with that person, not connecting to them in any way, shape, or form, energetically, emotionally, whatever. In doing that and maintaining that until the end of March, you will actually find that you're like, oh my gosh, my energy's changing. What happens when Mars and Venus shows up in your 7th house? Mid-April, really all the way in through June, is there somebody who shows up that I personally think is a lot better? I'm not one to judge. But when all these planets go through Pisces and they actually square your South Node and they square Uranus, it's releasing that emotional thought pattern of constantly recurring, going back to the past and obsessing about the past. And not even just so much about that person, but oh my gosh, Virgo rising, how much time I spent, how much time I wasted, all of these things. And you're going to be like, why did I wait so long? It was always possible for me to move forward. And it's okay. The universe will keep rerouting you. But I don't want you to miss this once in what's going to be a lifetime transit of Jupiter, Neptune, and Venus, the most positive exalted planets in Pisces, in your house of marriage, when probably this really sexy guy with a ponytail is going to show up. Or he'll be like really spiritual or like creative or like a photographer. And he's sexy because it's a 8 on your descendant. So it's really, really important. You know, we can go out, find you a new man. Yes, yes, please, please. That would be amazing. It would be great, Rachel, for you to have a Scorpio as a wing woman. That's for sure. She will incentivize you, and very opposite of you. You know, her and I have very, very similar astrology. But I'm so excited looking at your transits because I'm like, what you have that you're actually going to receive is so much better than where you've been that I think you actually have to raise the vibrations a little bit, right? And I'm also really excited to see all of these transits that are also sextiling your sun. Here's the thing for Tauruses. Eclipses are happening 7th houses away from your sun. So depending on that, you know, in your 3rd house, it's like you can't talk to the past. Also equally, it's really important. You cannot continue to keep looking at their text, their phone number, their pictures, their social media. We need this person to be gone. He needs to be banished. And if you have to use some magical means to do so, please do. Yeah, and I really feel like, honestly, it can be a really amazing time for you to meet new people. Jupiter is going to square your moon. So in the process of meeting new people, you're going to make new friends, right? Or you're going to make friends so you can go out and you can meet somebody, or you're going to be in a situation where through that new partnership, there's new people that come into your life. So I'm excited, especially within 1 month, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I get it. And then within 3, you're going to be like head over heels in love with somebody else. Such a good transit. Tauruses, Virgo risings. I mean, these are the people who are really getting rewarded in the relationship department. Big time. Big time, big time. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Phoenix, I didn't forget about you. I just saw you. Got to grab Phoenix, and then don't worry, Kiki, I got you. And then we're going to call it a wrap. Let's pull Phoenix's info up here. Here we go. Please do a reading for my daughter, Phoebe. 3/10/2008. Hopefully that's helpful, Rachel. Let's see. 1:58 p.m. Fremont. She's turning 14 years old. Thanks. My ex-husband lives in Washington. We're returning back to the Bay Area. Okay. So, happy birthday to, or almost birthday to your daughter. Wow. So, she's got a Pisces sun. And she's also got a Cancer rising, and her moon is in Taurus. You're welcome, Rachel. I think what I'm most interested in, you know, I love that. I think what I'm most interested in is looking at her horoscope, all these planets that are coming into her sign. Neptune's, you know, been conjunct her natal Uranus. There's definitely been lots of changes and transformations going on with school and her belief system. I think Jupiter coming into conjunction with Uranus. She may have an interest in learning about astrology. Let me know if that's something that's happening, or is she asking you questions about it? Because to me, it seems like she's curious. And I think with Jupiter on her natal Uranus and also Saturn going through all these planets in Aquarius this year, my, she may actually become really interested in astrology looking at this kid. Jupiter's going to hit her sun, so it's also about having, I think, more responsibility now than usual. So it can be about her within the next 2 years thinking about, what do I want to be when I grow up? Am I getting my first job? That kind of stuff is going to start happening. It's going to make her more optimistic. Jupiter is the ruler of her 6th house, so she might be more focused on, yeah, once again, work, being of service, but also just thinking about what does she want to learn, what does she want to be. And this is quite a successful chart. Having the sun and the moon in the 10th house, I mean, I know parents always say, like, my kid is so gifted, but like, no, she is And with Jupiter and Neptune hovering around her sun, she's going to be really creative. There we go, bingo. Right when you put it, right when I said it, you texted it. Very creative visually. And I'm wondering, what is her modality going to be? Is she going to, you know, paint? Is she going to be a designer? Is she going to be a photographer? Like, what's her thing? Because we really want to nurture that this year and next year, and start talking to her about what she's good at and kind of guiding her into a direction of what she could do, right? Her North Node's in the 9th house, so this whole year, some kind of like guidance counseling type stuff and kind of feeling out what she enjoys, right? But being that her midheaven is ruled by Mars and she has Mars in the 12th, the next 2 years is like, well, what are you good at? So that way we can kind of really help her towards going in the direction of thinking about what she could go to school for. I'm going to tell you something about this chart, okay? I'm a little jealous. I'm a little jealous that she's got Neptune, Mercury, and Venus all in Aquarius. Because to me, that tells me that, number one, like, this kid will absorb astrology like nobody's business. Wish I had that. Yeah, she's pretty if she's got a Taurus moon and a Pisces sun. She's very pretty. But also, the way that she's going to learn and the way that she's going to get a higher education is going to be different and unusual. So whether that's like she goes to an art school or she goes away for school or we want to start gearing her now because she has all those planets in her 9th house or 8th house going into the 9th house to start being more expressive and using kind of creativity as like a self-expressive meaning. Technically, the Neptune, Mercury, Venus is in her 8th, so I'm going to kind of talk to you about some stuff that might make you cringe a little bit, but it's coming up a lot in the astrology. We want to start talking to her about her hormones and like puberty and respecting herself and sexuality, because it's all in her 8th. And you're seeing Saturn and Mars and Venus coming into conjunction. It's not just because she's like 14 years old and kind of coming into being a teenager. It's just more the nodes coming into a square. So talking to her about sexual health, art therapy, you know, that being a means for expressing herself. She might be a little shy. So there can be some stuff coming up just about her being a little bit of a late bloomer. So she can be hearing things about friends and stuff, kind of having sexual experiences, and her being like, I don't know about that. I get a little anxious about that, you know? Yeah, video games, sports, yeah, but video games and art in general. Maybe art, like video games design, right? Design video games. She's really good with her like painting and stuff in regards to her hands, right? Because the sun rules her 2nd house, so she's very crafty. But I would start talking to her about that. Her hormones are changing, yeah. So, you know, I'm not going to say the good news is, but like, I'm not really worried about this being a kid that's going to like be sneaking out of the house this year. I think you're going to hear stories about how her friends are starting to do that stuff, and her friends are definitely kind of starting to explore a little bit more sexually. Saturn going through this part of her chart means she doesn't feel comfortable doing it. And yeah, just, you know, want to talk to her about all the teenage things, you know, like drugs, sex, rock and roll. And if she ever is at a party and she's drinking, or if there are people who are doing things that are inappropriate, she's just aware, because the 8th house is that stuff, especially Aquarius. Yeah. But start talking to her about that now. Saturn's going to come into conjunction with her Venus. That'll happen once every 30 years. So she might actually find something that she really loves and enjoys doing creatively, or joins a creative group or an association. But I mean, yeah, this is a pivotal year for, I think, her really learning some skills that's really going to help her long terms. I always ask her if she has a new boyfriend. I'll tell you when she's going to have a boyfriend, but I don't want that to freak you out. She's definitely thinking about it because she's got a trine to her Mars, and if she did, she'd be very private about it. But likely Saturn coming into conjunction with Venus is like a little bit of like feeling maybe possibly a little rejected. I think dating is going to happen more when she's got eclipses happening in her natal 5th. It's going to happen right around Halloween. So we're going to have a eclipse here around the end of October. Yeah, she's going to attract a lot of boys with her Venus North Node, especially because she's, when I say unusual, not weird, but Venus North Node in Aquarius means she may be a little exotic looking. So yeah, she's beautiful. And that eclipse is going to trine her Venus. So yeah, makeup, being a little bit more, I think, feminine. That stuff's going to start kind of coming in a little bit more in the fall, or maybe she's seeing that around other people. But yeah, from the eclipse at the end of October through the eclipses that are going to start happening in the spring next year, that's when that's going to start taking place. And honestly, when Saturn's coming into conjunction with her Venus, and it starts then sextiling and making aspects maybe to Jupiter next year, next spring. So I have Scorpio rising. So yeah, Jupiter and Neptune are going into your 5th house. So it's about your children dating. It'll take about a year for that to fully kind of transpire, but next spring. Yeah. So just, yeah, have that conversation with her. Just talk to her about that, you know? Yeah, I can see that. Lots of makeup coming for this one because Saturn's going to conjunct her Venus and she's going to want to look more sophisticated. But it's going to be different. Like Venus in Aquarius likes things that are like more modern, or she might like stuff that looks like it's the 90s. You're going to be like, I remember seeing that like 30 years ago type stuff. It's going to be, she might look like a little Bratz doll. Really big, pretty eyes and really expressive face. And yeah, she's just... I don't know, she's very, very pretty, Venus on the North Node, but in Aquarius in a very kind of futuristic, unusual, almost bohemian sometimes way. Hopefully that's helpful. Happy birthday to her. Scorpio risings are always very, very protective of their daughters because they have very, very pretty daughters because they have Pisces in the 5th. Last but not least, Kiki. Thank you for waiting and being patient. Hi, it's been forever. Oh, let me plug your info in. Here we go. Did I save it? Where are you? Here we go. 11/14/89. And that was at 1:28 p.m. Oh wait, no, that was not. Like not spelling this right. Centralia. Oh, it's Washington. I'm putting in California. I'm like, what? Hello. Washington. There we go. All right, let's see what's going on with you. I feel like it's been forever. February didn't go as planned. I hosted a healing circle on the full moon with some powerful magical bitches. It went really well despite me getting COVID. Oh no. I didn't really plan on doing these every month, but I feel important. I have quite a few people interested. Ever since I got my Reiki attunement, I've been feeling so different in the best ways. I never really saw myself as someone who holds space for others and healing besides my jewelry. I always kind of content with being the lone wolf, working in my workshop, doing my markets and events exhausted me enough. I'll be able to manage everything, just wondering what you see. Well, welcome to the North Node in Aquarius. I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, I was so content just like being in my little bubble, you know, like keeping to myself, doing my readings. And as Saturn started coming closer and closer to the North Node, it's pushing people who have the North Node in Aquarius to be like, no, you're going to go and you're going to do this weird, you know, metaphysical, futuristic, saving the world, energy work, right? And it's in your 12th house. So healing circles, centers, working with people, collaborating with people, Also, you know, Uranus is the ruler of your North Node, and you've got Uranus in the 10th. So it can be duality, you know, how you communicate and talk to people, but also what you work and make with your hands. Saturn rules groups. It's your 11th house lord. So the fact that it's coming into conjunction with your North Node in the 12th house tells me meeting with people privately in groups and helping them with the process of healing, right? Because you're facilitating that. The South Node is coming into conjunction with your Mercury, and that tells me it's more about you kind of going like, okay, I'm burnt out, or I need a bit of a break, or I need to do my work differently. And when it conjuncts your Sun and your Mercury over the next 2 or 3 months, it's what you let go, but then you look at the 3rd house of what you gain. Community. Maybe you're going to start having community meetups more regularly. Maybe you're organizing and meeting people locally. Maybe you're going to do some training on your own, right? So Saturn in the North Node is really going to show you. And like, you're one of those people from 89 who's going to have all of these planets conjunct the North Node. And like, honestly, I can speculate what's going to happen, but I'm going through the same transits. So you really want to break it down planet by planet. So pay attention to these dates. March 2nd through March 21st, Saturn and Mercury are going to conjunct your North Node. Okay, so it's like, actually, you're going to keep doing it. It's a lot of work. You're like, I don't know how I feel about this. You know, it's kind of weird. I don't usually do this, but just keep doing it. Holding space and being able to do that is so important, because you've got a lot of people that are going to be like off the Richter scale needing support. And if you're holding groups and doing donation-based stuff, or you're open to working with people more regularly, and maybe eventually you'll find that you really love it, and then you'll end up kind of shifting and going into being a teacher, and maybe you're doing attunements, maybe you're teaching, right? But you're doing it privately. So there's that. Meditation, past life regression, shamanic work, that can come up for you as well. And I think you're going to think a lot about this in March and April. Look into shamanic drumming and soul retrieval work. Do you know what that is? Soul retrieval work. Mars in the 12th house is drumming, healing, working on a spiritual level. Venus coming into conjunction with the North Node is finding something that you're in love with, aligning with your purpose, change and transformation. And it's like, honestly, when else are you going to have Saturn, Venus, and Mars on your North Node square the nodes? You'll never have that again. That'll never happen again. So it's basically saying, hi, this is the universe way of kind of going, you can do this the easy way or the hard way. We're giving you this push. Go do this. And it's also learning about quantum healing. So I don't think, it's almost like Reiki is like the gateway drug to learning more about other spiritual healing modalities. So I get the impression that maybe you're working, okay, so your Reiki teacher does them. You're learning more about that. Maybe you start learning about how to do that and holding space and doing ritual work. But it's like everything that's going on here in March and April is really kind of rising to the occasion. And you might feel more drained, energetic. You might go, I really want to study this, so I got to put other stuff on the back burner. And the 12th house is about spirituality, healing, moving through things. Now, some people would argue with me and say, actually, it's in your whole sign first house, which, okay, it's still healing the body, but through spiritual stuff, right? So it's the same thing either way. Saturn is passing that, and it's coming up on your ascendant. And I think what's kind of cool is that even though Saturn will get close to your ascendant, it will not conjunct. So to me, it's like Saturn saying, oh, well, do you want to learn something? Do you want to go through some initiation? Do you want to learn how to do this kind of work so you can fully shift into next year being like, hi, this is what I do. This is what I specialize in, right? Because when Saturn sits on your ascendant, you're going to be seen as the teacher, the master. And in the midst of all of this, Saturn is also in a trine right now to your moon, which deals with healing, your childhood, inner work, working with women, right? Something like that. And I would say just, man, it's going to be some weird shit. The 12th house is weird shit. things that don't make sense. Working in the astral realm, lots of dreams, lots of intuition, working on things behind the scenes. So you want to, at least how I'm handling it, it's the only advice I can give you, is we don't know what's going to happen until those transits hit. So we want the transits to hit to kind of show us like all the missing pieces of the puzzle that we need to integrate. So first it'll be Mercury, information. Then it's going to be Saturn, which is commitment. Then it's going to be Venus. Oh, I love this. Then it's going to be Mars, which is taking action. Bingo, sexual trauma. Yeah, point blank, but also working with other women, working with younger people. I mean, the South Node's in Scorpio. There's going to be waves of people who are suddenly going to realize, oh my God, I have an eating disorder because I was sexually abused. Oh my God, I was, abused, by a family member, and this is why I'm afraid of commitment. Like, so many people are suddenly going to start having waves of this, especially the Pluto and Scorpio generation, that there's definitely going to be people out there who need help, right? Food for thought. And whole sign wise, your Mars, Pluto, Sun, Mercury in your 10th house is like, of course it's going to be some kind of intense transformative shifts, but you might start thinking more about, do I go the path of shamanic work? Do I want to go more in the direction of psychology, working with people, child psychology, therapy, working with people who need healing or people who have addiction issues? That can come up too. I will tell you that you don't really make a decision about what you're committing to and if you're going to start a program or invest in anything or make a bigger change until actually closer to what will be May, June. And then when you get into Leo season is when it starts to kind of take off. 33 is an annual perfection year 10. So for us, actually, a lot of the learning, the traveling, the expansion, the experiences we're having this year is setting up and materializing actually more for us to come into that career success next year when you have a 10th house year. But I say roll with the punches. Go, and I really want you to learn about astral traveling. I want you to learn about past life regression. I want you to learn about soul retrieval, because there's something here that your soul is really drawn to, being a Sun Pluto. It just like makes sense. It's like, yeah, I want to go deep into that stuff. Let's go into the astral and receive some of that fractured part of the soul to heal. Very exciting work. Might even branch into like some kind of medicinal stuff, like medicine work and journeying and, something of that nature. So please let me know. And anybody else who's watching this, if there's people who are watching this who are of 1989, because I'm in out of the same transit. So I'm like, fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. Making me a little nervous with the squares to my Scorpio, but it is what it is. So please let me know. Hopefully this was helpful to everybody who's watching, liking, subscribing, hanging out with us for a Saturday night. I appreciate it. You guys are the best. I love being able to do this. Stay tuned. I've got lots of good content coming out this week. So we're going to do astro weather, talking about all of March. I have 3 hours worth of horoscopes for whoever feels like listening to that and helping me put the timestamps to talk about how it's going to affect all of the 12 signs. Next week, we've got a video that I'm putting together about Mars, Venus, and Pluto, the conjunction. The Pisces new moon video is already out if you haven't seen that. So if you want to know how it's going to materialize for you, and some extra content that I'm kind of putting together and getting ready for my courses. So if you want to sign up for my newsletter, check out the link below. It's down there. You can sign up if you want to study with me. I'm going to be teaching beginners astrology club. I'm excited to do that. And I look forward to seeing what happens. Oh, okay, before I get off here, I have to ask, okay? Sorry, I'm like brain dead right now. Filmed videos all day and had clients, and then I did this. Olympia and Patrick, where is Aquarius in your chart? Where is your North Node? What house? Can you let me know? I'm just curious, because I really want to know how you guys are feeling this energy. We had all last year to prepare. Jupiter on the North Node was like, this is the plan, and like Saturn's going to show up in a couple weeks and go, and now you're doing it. What house is it in for you guys? No wonder you guys are into astrology, huh? You have the same conjunctions. second house, moon. Okay. But my node is in my third Pisces. Okay. So whole sign second. Interesting. I'm always interested to hear. So if you guys leave comments, I will read them. If anybody else is watching this, let me know. I'm very interested to hear because that's something that I'm prepping for. Otherwise, you guys stay well. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hopefully it goes well. I'll be back next week. We're going to be doing live tarot on Saturday night at 7 p.m. I always feel like saying live from Saturday night. Terrible. Bad at doing impressions. Sorry. I'll save that for later. Okay, guys, I will see you all next week. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.